Let's begin in Edo State, where President Bola Tinubu has condemned the murder of traveling hunters intercepted by local vigilantes in the Uromi community of Esan North local government area of Edo State. The president, who expressed shock at the dastardly act on Thursday, directed police and other security agencies to conduct swift and thorough investigations and punish the suspected culprits. President Tinubu commiserated with the families of the affected victims and assured them that criminals would not be allowed to shed the blood of innocent Nigerians in vain. The president noted that jungle justice has no place in Nigeria and all Nigerians have the freedom to move freely in any part of the country. In the meantime, 14 suspects have been arrested in connection with the brutal killing of 16 travelers in Edo State on Thursday. The victims, believed to be hunters, were lynched by a mob in the Uromi area after being suspected of criminal activity. According to the Edo State Police, the travelers were in a truck coming from Elele River State, where they were stopped by a local vigilante group. Some of the travelers were found with locally made guns, which led to accusations of kidnapping. The situation quickly escalated as vigilantes raised alarm, prompting an attack by the mob, which resulted in the deaths of 16 individuals. Police officers responded quickly, rescuing 10 of the travelers, 2 of whom were injured and are now receiving medical treatment. Authorities have since convened a meeting with local stakeholders to address the violence. To discuss this, we are joined by a public affairs analyst, Ibrahim Momo rather. Thank you so much, Mr. Momo, for joining us on the news.
Move back, then sit down.
Ibrahim Momo, can you hear me? I'm not sure Ibrahim is ready for us this afternoon. Okay, maybe we would definitely bring him when he's settled to discuss this particular situation in Edo State. But then we're still in Edo State anyway. Members of Edo South senatorial constituency have commenced a recall process against Senator Neda Imaswe. This comes amidst increasing discontent among constituent members who allege that Senator Imaswe has not adequately addressed their concerns. At a press conference in Benin City, 6 out of the 7 members representing the 7 local government areas of Edo South Senatorial District added their signatures. The lawmaker has reacted to the recall process.
Of Edo South Senatorial District hereby declare a total loss of confidence on Senator Neda Bernard Imaswe. His tenure in the Nigerian Senate has been marked by failure, corruption, abuse of office, and gross betrayal of public interest.
Oga, is it wrong for you to tar roads in your constituency? Oga, what is wrong if you tar the road from 100 feet from St. Saviour down to Ubahi, the road behind Guinness, to decongest Rama Park and 3rd Junction? Oga, we are not feeling your presence.
The issue that was before my committee was the issue of the conduct on the floor of the Senate. It has nothing absolutely to do with sexual harassment. Sexual harassment came after the first petition that was brought before my committee. And we have standing rules. The first petition that was laid by the petitioner was signed by her, and that's against our standing rule. If it case that before any competent court of jurisdiction, we do not hear it. I'm also aware some of them in the world there say they are starting my recall. I wish them well.
We are still in Edo State, but then we go back to the story around a mob attack on a couple of travelers. About 16 of them were said to have been killed after wrong profiling. So to help us understand this better, we have a public affairs analyst, Ibrahim Momo. Ibrahim, it's nice to have you around. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you for having me on the show.
Okay, so now incidences of jungle justice have gone on unabated in Nigeria despite condemnations. What do you consider as the triggers?
Thank you very much. Oftentimes, jungle justice is triggered by disinformation or misinformation and the raise of false alarm. It's also a function of rumor mongering and, a lack of cohesion, national cohesion among different ethnic nationalities in the state, in the country, I should say. In this particular instance, the first trigger was that people were traversing the community, Oromi community, from a particular section of the country, from the north. And so that was the first trigger. There's this kind of distrust among ethnic nationalities in the country. So that for me is the first trigger for this one. But generally, it is for me a lack of fellow feeling, because even if there were doubts, even though there were misconceptions, or there were genuine fears of the character of the individuals who were victims of this mob criminal conduct, the ideal thing is to report to the security services. But the irony was that in this particular instance, it was the Edo State-owned vigilantes, the Edo Security Network, as they call them, that raised the alarm upon, fetching the vehicle, the trailer, in which they were traveling from Port Harcourt through Edo State to Kano. And so the security services, Edo State Security Network, or what they call the local vigilante, which are funded by the state government, who ordinarily ought to protect life and properties, were the ones who were not guilty of raising the alarm that led to the arson, the murder, and the killings and the burning of these innocent Nigerians.
Okay, so according to reports, Ibrahim, it's a case of maybe wrong or ethnic profiling. Does it also spotlight issues around insecurity fears and identity crisis?
Yes, insecurity fears is not exactly the issue here, but identity crisis is perhaps a much more apt description of what's happened here. Who does profiling? Whose duty it is to profile? Is it a mob? Is it unintelligent, uneducated, and if I may, uncivilized indigents or citizens of a community or of a state? Or is it the security services that are so empowered? If the idea ordinarily, what ought to have happened would have been, if they were criminals, even if they were assuming they were criminals, even though they were criminals, the proper thing to do would have been to invite the security forces, maybe the police in the first instance, who would now arrest, interrogate, and possibly prosecute these criminals. But what happened here was that a vehicle was stopped, and the occupants, being people of ethnic nationalities from the north, were searched, and then guns were found in a trailer in which they were traveling in. A trailer, this articulated vehicle, very long one, which they traveling, and there were about 30 of them in the vehicle on their way to Kano. And then the mob swooped in, the vigilante, local vigilante, the Edo State-owned security network moved in, raised the alarm that these were kidnappers, and then the indigents swarmed in. In fact, the videos circulating of this incident are a gory sight to behold. Individuals were beaten with cordials and wood, and they were burnt while still alive with tires and on the bonfire. These are prehistoric. This is primordial. These are, characters that are not, these are mundane, they're not what you expect in the 21st century. So that is what it is. When you have that kind of ethnic rivalry, when there are profiling, that wrong profiling of individuals, it is not a crime to come from a section of the North. If you are from the North or you are from the South, that is not a crime. It's an accident. It is not even an accident of history. It is a fact of existence. It's not an accident of history. The mere fact that they were from the North, they were traversing an Erom in the southern part of Nigeria, it's not a criminal offense. What I think is a criminal offense, and I think that is why I appreciate the state government, the state governor, for calling it out, and the federal government too, the president for also calling it out, is that Nigerians there should be freedom of movement. And if there are criminal conduct, it is not resolved by mob action. It is something that ought to be reported to security forces, who then take action of investigating and, if found culpable, prosecuting the criminal elements.
All right, just to wrap things up, Ibrahim, now, according to Amnesty International, about 555 victims of mob violence were documented between 2012 and 2023, and out of that, 57 were killed. Now, you've said what should have been done, but then the buck stops in front or at the table of the government, both at the national and sub-national level. What decisive steps must be taken, most especially now, to regulate the activities of vigilantes and, of course, prevent mob attacks?
The first issue that ought to have been discussed is, that ought to have been done, is that vigilantes, is it within the is it within the concurrent list of activities? It is not. Local securitization ought to be in the residual list. That is where it belongs. It is ideally the local government that ought to be involved in vigilante, local security. That is called local for a purpose. It ought to be the local government, because the entire country, yes, divided into 36 states and the FCT, is also importantly divided into 744 local government areas. The failure to empower, to allow the local governments to function at full capacity, is the root of the major challenges we have. I have spoken to this, I've written severally on this, that the way out of Nigeria's quagmire, Nigeria's challenges, has to be the local government. Whether it is food security, whether it is food security as a form of security, whether it is national security as a form of security, whether it is human security, also in a contemporary sense, security, it ought to be the first line should have been the local government. But very often we are seeing that even this vigilante, this mob that raised the alarm and they were supposedly the ones who were supposed to protect provide security, they were employed by the state government.
All right.
Local government does not have a say in situating the affairs or activities of these vigilante groups. Ideally, if the local government were in charge, the report would have gone to the local government secretariat. Uromi is a local government headquarter, is the headquarter of Eastern Northeast local government area of those states. Ideally, if it was under the purview, the activities were under the purview of the local government, and it was even in the headquarters of the local government, it would have been easier to manage the mob action, the action, the wrong profiling, and all the criminal activities that are coming would not have happened.
Oh, so I actually guess.
Yeah,
I understand. Ibrahim Momo, we might just append the conversation right there. We kindly appreciate your contributions on the news at this time. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
You're watching news now. We'll go on a very short break, and when we return, former Rivers State Head of Service John Waike has denied reports of his kidnap. We'll tell you more when we are back. Many thanks for staying with us. We now head to Rivers State, where former Rivers State Head of Service George Waike has denied claims from his wife Florence that he was kidnapped. In a video released on Saturday, Waike clarified that he's safe in Abuja, where he voluntarily went to report to security agencies about the recent developments in Rivers State. He explained that he resigned as head of service earlier this week and dismissed his wife's claims, suggesting she had been misled. Nweke emphasized that he's working in Abuja and is not under any duress. Florence, in an emotional interview, expressed concern over her husband's safety, saying she was alarmed after watching a video interview with him, which she found suspicious. She had tried contacting him, but his phone was unreachable.
Can I say good morning, gentlemen of the press? I'm back to you this evening. My name is George Nweke. I'm in Transcorp, Abuja. I came in here this morning from Port Harcourt to meet with security agencies to report myself and to report the things that are happening in the state that are making me to feel sick. Actually, I was head of service until Monday, 24th, and I resigned because of things that are happening. So, after the press interview I granted, I just saw a video of my wife trending, where they went to hold her and they fed her with all kind of fallacies. They told her to be kidnapped. I want to clear this. I am not kidnapped. I am in Abuja. This is Transcorp Hotel, where I'm lodging. And they told her that I was kidnapped and she's crying, and they wrote a script for her to say all sorts of things. I want to put this straight. I am the head of service, and I'm on oath. My wife does not know the things that happen in my office. I don't discuss anything about office to her. It's only my domestic or social matters that we discuss. So that script they wrote for her is not and void. So I want to clear the air that I am safe, I'm fine, I'm in Abuja. By tomorrow morning, I intend to go to the security agencies to report myself. So my coming to Abuja was based on the fact that Abuja is where all the headquarters of security agencies are housed. So I came here and I think I'm safe here to make this report here, so they can investigate. And I'm saying that I'm on oath. If I allow any of those things, they will take me up. But I'm reporting.
In the meantime, suspended Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara denied allegations leveled against him by a former head of service of the state, George Nweke, and is asking Nigerians to disregard them. Among the accusations Nweke leveled against Fubara was that of conniving with militants to blow up oil pipelines in the state amid political crisis rocking Rivers. But Fubara, in a statement he signed personally earlier on Saturday, described Nweke's comments as laughable. The governor said that Nweke has been compromised and whatever he's saying is only aimed at fulfilling his promise to those who may have paid or coerced him to lie against him. Now to health matters. Health experts in Nigeria have raised concerns over the dangers of excessive salt consumption, saying that it is responsible for the rising cases of hypertension, which now affects over 35% of adults in the country. This was during the launch of the National Guideline for Sodium Reduction in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Our correspondent, Joshua Imarayi, has the details.
Nigeria's federal government has launched the National Guideline for Sodium Reduction as part of its effort to prevent the adverse health consequences of excessive salt intake. Speaking at the launch in Abuja, the Minister of State for Health and Social Welfare, represented by the Director of Food and Drug Department at the Ministry, says that excessive salt consumption is directly linked to the rise in hypertension across the country.
Our country has witnessed the transformative power of urbanization, with our diets increasingly incorporating processed and packaged food. These changes have created new challenges to our healthcare landscape and necessitates bold public health initiatives to safeguard our communities against silent threats, one of which is the elevated risk of cardiovascular diseases linked to high sodium consumption.
Some others present say effective implementation of the guideline will help improve public health and reduce the adverse effects of salt consumption.
The global average intake of sodium averages 10.8 grams per day, which is more than double the WHO recommendation, highlighting the urgency of a sustainable action.
We strongly believe
that the effective implementation of the national guideline on sodium reduction in Nigeria will help in no small measure in reducing excessive sodium intake among the populace and thereby reduce cases of cardiovascular diseases and non-communicable diseases in Nigeria.
They expressed their commitment to supporting the successful implementation of the new guideline.
NAFDAC is committed to supporting the effective implementation of this guideline. Our regulatory oversight will ensure compliance with sodium reduction targets, clear labeling of sodium content in prepackaged food products, and continuous engagement with the food industry to promote healthier alternatives to sodium.
With the guideline now released, experts are hoping salt intake can be regulated in a bid to improve public health. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarai.
Away from that, amidst Nigeria's continued challenge with air and environmental pollution, Iwekoro local government area in Ogun State adds to the increasing statistics as residents are still burdened with the after effects of the activities of a major player in the cement manufacturing industry situated in the host communities of Iwekoro and Akimbo, about 64 years since operations began. In this report, News Central's Aishat Salihu investigates the issues beneath this challenge, calling on authorities to do right by committing to one health approach in order to optimize health outcomes for all.
Iwekoro is a major destination for industrial plants, but beneath the surface of this easygoing community, a silent killer is taking hold. Air, environment, water, and noise pollution, impacting the environment and human health in distinct ways. The cement industry that powers these towns is fueling a growing crisis that threatens the health and social well-being of the vulnerable population.
It's affecting us by blasting. They are blasting. When they are blast, it's vibrate the land that can cause earthquake. So that is why the buildings are cracking. The vibration, yes, is the causes.
Ìlera ó jẹ́ nǹkan tó jẹ́ kókó tó yẹ kí wọ́n bá mú ní ọ̀kúnkúndùn. Ṣé tí yín ṣe tó jẹ́ pé gbogbo ìmú gan ẹlòmíì gan nílùú kò yẹ kó tí ì darúgbó tó ti máa darúgbó pàjáwìrì àpàpàǹdodo lórí kíní air pollution wọn tó máa ń dust tó máa ń káàkiri kò síbi tí ò kí ń dé irú bá ṣe wà bí báyìí sìn ó jẹ́ ìmú gan ẹlòmíì gan kò yẹ kó tí ì kú tó yẹ mọ̀ pé tó bá ti fa dust símú ó máa tètè kú. For
65-year-old Shakirat Oloyede, a native and resident of Iwekoro community, the air she breathes every day is a constant struggle. Shakirat has been living with some health conditions that worsen with the rising levels of air and environmental pollution in her neighborhood.
The same way they happen is too much. Because the dust, they affect us. They affect our nose, mouth, and eyes, and our chest. If anybody cough that time, now that dust, now it go bring out from the mouth. And when we are going to hospital to take care of ourselves, then go treat chest for cough, and the eyes, then they treat it for us. As they go to hospital, the money now from my pocket, now they use to treat myself. Nobody they help me, give me money or support me.
The rapid industrialization, vehicle emissions, dilapidated road structure, and also carbon emission arising from the activities of the cement factory in a Iwekoro community have led to a decline in the air quality right here.
There seem to be debates over the decades, but what is unclear is why the community refused to relocate after admitting the cement company suggested the option.
Lóòótọ́ wọ́n sọ pé ká relocate a lè relocate nítorí pé kíni ibi tá à ń gbégbọn ẹ̀ tún ṣe lè wá fẹ́ relocate wa ṣó ti yé sí àfi kẹ́ ẹ̀ tún ṣe náà tẹ́ bá tún ṣe la máa jọ jókòó gbogbo a máa jókòó ní village la máa sọ̀rọ̀ kó kí o yá kí la ká ṣe kí ni assurance pé tá bá relocate tá bá lọ ṣé a máa rí nǹkan gbà mọ́ àbí báwo lè ṣe fẹ́ ṣe.
Ononode Monsuru, a youth representative who has lived in Ewekoro all his life, like many others, says all he wants from the ongoing deliberation is compensation for repairs on his building structure ahead of the rainy season.
So, waiting caused this thing. The major something is that because of the dose of the wako of lavage is making cake for the whole zinc, turn it to asbestos, which is not asbestos, it's only is the zinc. So now all the zinc turn to asbestos. When rain is fall, we can't take the water. The water is very bad for us to take. So though Lafarge, they are trying their best, but we need their effort to continue to do it for us.
Experts worry that prolonged exposures to cement dust and mine blasts would affect the quality of life in the communities.
The particles are so tiny, because these ones you are seeing, there are ones you cannot even see. There are ones that are so tiny that can pass through your nostrils. Your nose have protection, have those hairs that can protect something heavy from passing through. But there are also some that are so tiny that they can pass through. You can start having asthma, you can start having bronchitis, start having lung diseases that is a factor to lung cancer. So if you calculate somebody that's 65 years or maybe 50 years of his life or her life has been exposed to this, so the quality of life will not be as good as someone that is not exposed to that.
As for the way forward,
the issue is this: whether they are legally or not or illegally, we have a duty towards them as a government. We have a social contract to protect the well-being of the people of the state. So they are part of the people we have to protect. So, but we have to do it cautiously. And if we have to apply moral suasion with Lafarge, we will do that. And if they have any convincing evidence to show that, look, they are right, let them come forward with it. I can tell you, we are here to protect them.
All efforts to get the multinational cement company, who has been mentioned as a key player in this air, water, environment and noise pollution allegations, to respond and state their stand proved abortive, as they did not grant interviews after inquiries were sent. As the cement factory continues to exist in the host communities and status quo maintained, so too does the threat of air, environment, water and noise pollution on health outcomes. But with the right implementation of policies, better industrial practices and public awareness, it is possible to turn the tide.
In Ewekoro, Ogun, for News Central, Aishat Salihu.
Still talking health, the need to curtail the spread of rubella, measles, and to further sensitize critical stakeholders in Abia State has been emphasized. Wives of mayors of the local government areas, female deputy mayors and health specialists, among others, at the instance of the wife of Abia State Governor Priscilla Oti, converged on Umuahia, the state capital. News Central's Chinwe Ogele has more.
Rubella measles is a contagious viral infection that causes a rash and could be very dangerous for pregnant women, causing birth defects. As a result, this awareness program is organized for those believed to be closest to the grassroots, the wives of the mayors. Health experts explain the virus, the symptoms, and ways of preventing it.
There has been a downward trend with the monovalent vaccine. But this vaccine is going to be much more efficacious because that includes the rubella vaccine and the measles vaccine.
If they don't get vaccinated, they risk contracting and spreading measles and rubella, and will lead to severe outbreaks and the complications you have already outlined, especially for children and pregnant women.
Wife of the Abia State Governor Priscilla Oti, represented by the Commissioner for Women Affairs Maureen Ahokwa, dispels the myths and misinformation being peddled about the vaccine.
The truth is that millions of children around the world have been safely vaccinated, and it is because of vaccination that measles and rubella have been drastically reduced in many countries. The essence of this meeting today is to arm you with the relevant information that will enable a vigorous campaign for the acceptance of this vaccine in your local communities.
The Executive Secretary of Primary Healthcare Development Agency in Abia State, Dr. Carlo Olokalo, says government is willing to offer the vaccines at no cost in the various communities.
The vaccines, the people, the end users are mostly at the grassroots level, at the local government level. So
some of the participants say they are now better equipped with knowledge to educate their people on the vaccine.
I intend going back to my local government to sensitize my women, call women together, educate them, go to the different villages, and then let them know about the virus, and then make sure they vaccinate their children, because some of them are afraid, some of them do not even know about this virus.
Should Nigeria, as one of the 19 remaining countries in the world that is yet to begin the rubella measles vaccination, worry about the quality?
And for people to have embraced it that much will tell you how safe it is. So it's a pointer to the fact that it's very safe.
So what we're doing here today is advocacy, is sensitization campaigns, bringing it to the grassroots so that our people can be aware that there's something in the pipeline.
Rubella is a type of measles that can spread through direct contact with the saliva or mucus of an infested person or through the air by respiratory droplets produced from coughing or sneezing. In Omaha for News Central, Chinwe Ukeli.
Now, the federal government has inaugurated a committee to address the power crisis affecting the nation's health sector, particularly in tertiary health facilities. The Minister of State for Health and Social Welfare, Isiaq Salako, while inaugurating the committee in Abuja ahead of the National Dialogue on Power in the Health Sector, says that energy sufficiency is critical to strengthening healthcare services across the country. Salako outlined the committee's key responsibilities, which include convening a national stakeholders dialogue and ensuring the effective implementation of the dialogue's recommendations, including mobilizing resources for sustainable electrification.
While I acknowledge that there have been some pockets of deployment of alternative energy solutions in our health institutions, it is obvious that the current efforts are neither integrated nor guided by any holistic framework, operational guideline, or overarching policy. In addition, there have been reports of fire incidences, battery malfunctioning, theft of critical energy infrastructure, and other operational or maintenance problems in some health institutions that have embarked on alternative energy projects. Ladies and gentlemen, the time for experimentation and haphazard adoption of unproven platform for energy sourcing is over. We can no longer afford business as usual in the face of mounting energy bills in our hospitals. The time has come for all hands to be on deck to relieve our hospitals of the burden of prohibitive cost of power supply, which costs hundreds of millions of naira monthly.
Away from health-related stories to the fish industry in Borno State, the economic significance of the fish industry in Nigeria's northeastern state of Borno cannot be overstated. However, the sector faces sustainability challenges due to inadequate infrastructure, poor fish handling, and a lack of modern processing facilities. News Central's Morikarawa explores how the surge in demand for fish is revitalizing the local economy.
Borno's abundant waterways, particularly around Lake Chad, have made fishing and aquaculture key economic drivers in the state. Local fish farmers and fishermen report a steady rise in both domestic consumption and regional exports.
As I'm talking to you now, I have more than 15 people in my guest house where they came to buy this fish from Onitsha, Aba, Owerri, Umuahia, even Lagos, because I think every part of the country, all the states are coming to this place to buy the fish because it's very unique, like I said initially. So there is this thing about Borno fish that bring people together. Everywhere you go to, the fish is very, very different from any other fish.
I used to buy almost every week. I used to come and buy, and the fish is of different type. So it depends on the type you want to buy. All of them are good. They are sweet.
Kasuwancin kifi ka ai duniya ne, abin da ake samun kudi a ciki kamar kasuwan kifi. A cikin naira miliyan 2 da ka siya kwali 20 din nan, a misali a naira 100,000, ba ma ki ka sayar da shi miliyan 2,300. A sati za ka samu naira 300,000.
Despite this growth, many fish traders and farmers struggle with poor storage facilities, leading to spoilage and a lack of access to cold chain technology.
Gwamnati da yandero ce kasu do hangal ganazu andero bana wuzu kasu da taida da tallafi mara da zina kuru kasu ne da gyara kasu ga da wo mai taida za labara suka ci gaba da mara da yana su.
In gwamnati ta taimaka mana da abin kama kifin gaba ɗaya mu ta gama mana komai. Matasanmu na Borno wannan kusan rabin su ma za su samu aikin yi.
Kusa ku yare ba mana ba ande bin kilan da magana da sa usun gawo yana shiri ma kurun ma an jira fita da zuna do sa gana lallan gwamnati ya da an jira su do federal government de gwamnati ne ro ngairo mu ko ginazo ba kalallamar binye ladin hutu binye tijara yana.
Transporting fish from riverine areas to urban markets remains a major challenge due to poor road networks. Many hope the long-awaited reconstruction of the Maiduguri-Mafa-Gamborungala road will ease these difficulties.
My humble self and the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and indeed the members of the National Assembly will work closely to see how we shall rehabilitate the failed Maiduguri to road.
As the industry continues to expand, experts believe Borno has the potential to become a leader in sustainable aquaculture, strengthening food security and creating jobs.
Fish alone can employ a number of people, contribute millions, at least hundreds of millions to both the state and the local government, if properly managed, monitored and taxed as it ought to be. And I said earlier, the most important or the most significant component is the ability of the government, especially the state government, to go and set up the machinery or the process of mechanized processing that will make it more healthier, smarter, less chemicalized, and efficient.
A lecturer at the University of Maiduguri highlights the need for eco-friendly fishing practices and value-added processing to maximize the industry's potential.
That of Baga fish in Maiduguri alone is quite significant. If you take an average of just 25 trucks coming into Maiduguri daily for onward sales, both from within Maiduguri and to other states of the nation, you discover it's a huge chunk of money. The average price of the big ton of fish is about 105,000 naira. And the average load per car is about 225 cartons. If you multiply that 105,000 times 225 cartons, what you will discover is the amount is staggering. You are talking about well over 2 billion naira per week. That is coming into 2,312,600,000 naira value of fish coming into Maiduguri every week.
Investing in the fish business is said to be critical to create multiplicity of job opportunities to teeming youth, particularly those recovering from the years of insurgency in Nigeria's northeast. From Baga Fish Market in Maiduguri, for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
We now tell you that the M23 armed group has reached an agreement with the Southern African Development Community called SADC to facilitate the withdrawal of SADC troops from the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. The SADC, a regional bloc for Southern Africa, decided earlier this month to end its deployment after more than a dozen of its soldiers were killed in the ongoing conflict. M23 fighters backed by Rwanda have gained control of large areas in North and South Kivu provinces and launched a rapid offensive in January, capturing key cities like Goma and Bukavu.
Réunion avec la SADC concernant le retrait immédiat des troupes de la SAMI d'IRC, de Goma. Et nous avons aussi discuté par rapport à la ouverture de l'aéroport de Goma, comme vous le savez très bien, qui est très endommagé par les bombes et des mines laissées par le régime de Kinshasa. Et la SADC a décidé...
Away from that, Guinea's former dictator Musa Dadis Camara has been pardoned by the country's military junta for health reasons. This comes after a landmark trial where he was sentenced to 20 years in prison for his role in the 2009 massacre at an opposition rally. On September 28, 2009, at least 156 people were killed, hundreds were injured, and at least 109 women were raped during the brutal crackdown. Camara was found guilty of crimes against humanity for his role in suppressing the demonstration and failing to punish the perpetrators. The pardon follows Guinea's junta's announcement that it will cover compensation for victims with amounts ranging from 200 million to 1.5 billion Guinean francs. Away from Africa, the death toll from a huge earthquake that hit Myanmar and Thailand passed 1,000 on Saturday as rescuers dug through the rubble of collapsed buildings in a desperate search for survivors. The shallow 7.7 magnitude quake struck northwest of the city of Sagaing in central Myanmar in the early afternoon, followed minutes later by a 6.7 magnitude aftershock. The quake destroyed buildings, downed bridges, and buckled roads across swaths of Myanmar, with massive destruction seen in Mandalay, the country's second biggest city and home to more than 1.7 million people. At least 1,007 people were killed and nearly 2,400 injured in Myanmar, with 30 more missing, the junta said in a statement. Around 10 more deaths have been confirmed in Bangkok. Meanwhile, Russia has deployed 120 rescuers to Myanmar following the deadly earthquake that struck the Southeast Asian nation. On March 28, the Russian Ministry of Emergency Situations released images showing the rescue team boarding two planes ready to assist with the aftermath of the disaster. In a show of support, Russian President Vladimir Putin sent condolences to Myanmar's Prime Minister Min Aung Hlaing, expressing solidarity during this challenging time. The Russian rescuers are expected to provide critical aid and support as Myanmar deals with the devastation caused by the earthquake. In sports, Rivers Hoopers forward Maduk Akek has shared his experience with the team so far, describing it as the best opportunity in terms of both playing and winning. Akek, who joined Rivers Hoopers for Season 5 of the Basketball Africa League, expressed confidence in the team's potential and their chances in the competition. Last season, the talented forward delivered an outstanding performance for AS Down when they faced Rivers Hoopers in the BAL Sahara Conference. Now, it looks forward to making a significant impact with his new team as they prepare for the season ahead.
I guess, it was the best opportunity for me in terms of playing, also in terms of winning, and trying to, go make a deep run for the BAL. Last year I played you guys, against the Hoopers 3 different times, and I see, how coach uses players are, put them in position to be successful. So, when they reached out, it was a no-brainer to come out here and play and get a chance to do better than they did last year, hopefully to win the championship.
And elsewhere, Nigeria Super Eagles will participate in a 4-nation tournament in London this June as part of preparations for their 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers. The tournament will feature Ghana's Black Stars and Jamaica's Reggae Boys. Before heading to England, Nigeria will play their first ever friendly against Russia in Moscow on June 6. The matches aim to fine-tune the squad ahead of crucial qualifiers against Rwanda and South Africa in September. With just 7 points from 6 matches, Nigeria sits 4th in Group C, making their qualification hopes uncertain. Coach Eric Shell's team must secure wins in their upcoming fixtures to boost their chances of reaching the World Cup in the USA Canada, and Mexico. That's all at this hour, but before we go, we'll look at our top stories again. President Tinubu has ordered manhunts for killers of traveling hunters in Edo State. Suspended Rivers State Governor Sim Fubara has denied allegations of conniving with militants to blow up oil pipelines. We also told you that M23 rebel group and the Southern African Development Community have reached an agreement on troops withdrawal in eastern DR Congo. You can send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number and, of course, on your screen. And you can follow us on social media via @News Central TV. And you can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Go TV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Arvo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekon Obanjo.